Welcome to Drafted. I'm your hosting apprentice, and as always, I am joined by my dear friend and co-host, Preston Thompson. Preston, how are you doing, and what are you drinking today, my friend?
I'm doing good, Dan. It's like the middle of the day.
It really is.
Which is not my ideal energy for this podcast. I usually like to be a little late at night, a little loopy, but maybe it'll help me think more clearly and not say stupid stuff. I am drinking a Mountain Dew Baja Blast, so that I felt like was the appropriate energy to bring in for the show.
Hell yes, I love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're recording this at 3:30 Eastern time on a Thursday, so kind of the middle of a week as well. I thought for sure we'd all be drinking water, so I'm glad to hear you're doing something other than that.
I wanted something, you know.
Yeah. And what more something is there than a Mountain Dew Baja Blast? I don't think there is.
In a can too.
I think that's
which is like a miracle.
I didn't know that existed.
I know. Found it in the grocery store. I must have it.
I need to bring in our guest for this, who I think is maybe the most Taco Bell loving person we have on the show. I think. Oh, no. Really?
I think I would probably take that.
Oh, you'll have to duke it out
to an unhealthy level. I would take that Mexican pizza.
We are joined by one of our favorite people in the whole world, not just people that we bring on this show. It's Keith Raynor. Keith, how are you doing, man?
I am now charmed. At first, I was hurt by your Taco Bell assertions. Although I guess
don't you love Taco Bell? I thought you loved.
I do enjoy Taco Bell. Love is strong.
I thought you really. I thought you really fucked with Taco Bell.
I mean, I enjoy Taco Bell. I'm not ashamed of that. Although now that I've been seeing TikToks about the political proclivities of Taco Bell.
That is making it very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's creating new challenges. You really just, they say follow the money. Like, don't if you want to be happy, because all you'll find is that everybody who makes anything and has any money is using it to try and destroy America.
Don't tell Ted Whistle that. Do not tell Ted.
It's following the money. It leads you to some dark places.
Yeah,
I didn't follow the money to this podcast though. I followed the love. I followed the love and the passion of this podcast.
Yeah, I kind of wish I followed the money to this podcast.
Support us on Patreon, folks.
I saw the same exact thing. I think you're probably referencing, Keith, about like the new expose about Yum Brands or whatever it is.
What is it? What do they do?
They donate to really shitty people.
Oh, yeah.
They donate a lot of money, like $400,000, something like that. Mm-hmm. To just senators, I think. So it's not great.
Why does Yum Brands need to donate money to shitty people?
They apparently advocated against the Build Back Better Act, which is cool. It's a really cool thing that I like to know. So I don't know. And there was some sort of fair labor standards practice thing that seemed a little on the nose. So that's not good either. But,
what will TikTok ruin next?
Well, I don't know that that's TikTok's fault.
Although I believe the FCC put out a warning basically saying like TikTok is bad. Like we should not be using it. It is being used to steal the data of regular working class folk.
I think it's because TikTok is threatening to expose the FCC for the goons they really are. And now they're saying it's bad. Nobody look at it.
Disrupt the narrative, baby.
Isn't that true of literally everything we have a digital footprint on? I mean, has the FCC come out against Facebook?
If you're trying to limit your data that's being stolen, like I just feel like you're fighting an uphill battle. Like I don't know that you're gonna win.
Is it like going through the drive-through and getting like a bacon cheeseburger and a medium fry and a Diet Coke, and you're like, is that Diet Coke really doing anything? Isn't it already too late?
I only want 11 McNuggets. Take one and throw it in the trash. I'm on a diet. While he orders like 5 other things.
Right.
We're not doing anything
triple baconator stack.
Remotely food related. Although we considered it. We nearly did, but we pivoted right at the last second. Preston, what are we drafting today?
What? Question mark? Sentence inflection? Tonight we are running through a bracket. No nonsense. A very serious bracket of the most hated sports fans in the world. We are trying to narrow this down to the most hated fans, meaning if we had one of those like giant Bugs Bunny saws and we could just saw off a part, he like saws off Florida and just floats out into the sea or something.
Mm-hmm.
Should we do that with, New York? I don't know. Maybe. We're going to find out.
I hesitate to say worlds, even though we have a little bit of international flavor here. I feel like by pure numbers, right? Wouldn't it just all be like soccer and cricket?
It would all be Italian Division II soccer teams, right? Where they actually kill each other at the games.
And like
they actually just murder each other.
A couple of like cricket teams, probably just like.
Do we? I honestly have never. I mean, I know cricket is a massive sport, but for some reason, I feel like all fans of cricket are just like perfect.
Righto, cheerio, chaps.
Yeah, very, very sweet.
There's no way there's not cricket hooligans. There's just no way.
I don't know.
There was a claim back when I think I was back in college where Roma Lazio, the soccer rivalry, was the most deadliest sporting match in the world with the amount of people that had been killed in the surrounding area or the game itself. So yeah, we're not really getting into that so much. So maybe it's more like from our vicinity, from our little part of the earth.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. And I mean, like, I remember hearing a few years ago that there was a Brazilian soccer referee in like the 3rd or 4th division of Brazilian soccer who was murdered by fans after a match because they thought he did not do a reasonable enough job refereeing. It's like the 4th division. It's not even like, it's like, it'd be like, I don't know, what's the 4th highest league for a professional football in the US? Some league we never.
You don't even know that it's like the AFA or something, American Football Association, like the Powder Puff League. I don't know.
It's probably technically Pop Warner, right?
Yeah, like I don't know.
It's probably just Pop Warner.
Yeah, maybe so.
It might be whatever the Pac-10 is to become.
Oh no. Let's not go down that road in this episode. Oh, we might have to though. But yeah, we are bracketing here. Let's just get right into it. I mean, I don't need to tell you all the seeds, right? You'll know the seeds when we get through all the matchups.
Cover it as we go. Yeah.
Yeah. And we kind of workshopped these as best we could. So it's not a complete list. It's 16 that we think is pretty encompassing of the worst fan bases that us Americans would come into contact with regularly enough, whether in person or on the internet. And then we just randomly assorted them. So they're in no particular real seed, but just for matchups. Our first one here, Duke basketball fans versus Dallas pro sports fans. And we didn't want to like differentiate, because like I feel like you could have Patriots fans, Red Sox fans, and Celtics fans be like the top 3 seeds.
They're all
in a bracket like this, and they're all kind of like
we combined where available.
Yeah. But I think for most people, what you think of as a bad Dallas sports fan, probably Cowboys fans is what
probably
I'm thinking here.
Yeah, I mean, do the Stars have fans? Like.
Ooh.
I literally don't know if I've met a Stars fan. I do know Mavs. I do know Mavs fans.
Me too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they have that going for them. But the Rangers are based out of Arlington, right? Like that's not even.
I don't know if they really have fans either. I think there are 3 baseball teams left that have fans.
I mean, we're pretty much talking about Cowboys here. This is basically Cowboys.
And Jerry Jones is holding a lot of that water too.
He really does. I mean, it is tough as an owner to basically be the face of the fan base, but this guy does.
He manages it.
He's got to be one of the worst, most disliked owners in all of sports.
Yep.
He's definitely earned that reputation. But their fan base is like, they're clinging to the relevance of a once glorious team.
30 years ago.
Right. I was going to say a long time ago at this point. Is it even 30? Is it more like 40?
They refuse to give up the America's team moniker, and nobody can tolerate it. Everybody's like, your time has passed. It's that friend who keeps talking about the glory days in high school, and you're like, yeah, but now you're 38 and you work like 2 part-time jobs that you don't show up for most of the time. Like, what are you doing?
Also, Texas just as like a concept is not incredibly likable.
Stock is low. Stock is real low on Texas these days.
Daniel, you live now close to Duke country.
Mm-hmm.
Have you experienced it since you moved out there?
Yeah, a little. I mean, it's weird because I feel like the two places I've lived have not had a ton of Duke fans, which ironically I was in Durham for the first 3 months, and there are not many Duke fans in Durham that are just like in the town. Like they're on campus, I'm sure. And then, once they're done, they like leave Durham and go to like Raleigh or wherever, Charlotte or wherever, anywhere across the country probably, because they go to fucking Duke. But I did have one incident where the weird thing was I was in Chapel Hill, which is where UNC is. And I was like, I think I was wearing Florida State gear, and this very drunk Duke, she seemed like she was probably in like college age, so like probably still a student, just like started like verbally accosting me, talking about like how the Phoenix will rise again or something. It didn't make any fucking sense. And I was just very confused by it, but that was my one Duke interaction. And then in the UNC Duke basketball game, not the tournament one, but like the last game of the regular season, I was out at a bar, and it was a Durham bar, but most people there were UNC fans. And then there was like one horribly obnoxious drunk Duke fan. The Duke fans are the worst. Okay, I hate.
Wow, you just spoiler alert. Yeah,
really. But they get my vote here. I mean,
but you layer this very high ego intelligence on top of a very winning program. See, at least, and we'll get to this, but at least as an Alabama fan, I'm only getting half of that potion. You know what I mean? But you take a very successful winning program and you put it into like an actually good academic school. Those people are always going to be really obnoxious.
Yeah.
And like, there's part of me that's like, how do you create a disconnect between the hate or displeasure you get thinking about the success of
the team,
the program and the team and the fans, but you don't really have to, because those despicable people are being supported by, and in fact cheered on by, these other folks who then by association are also despicable. So if you can earnestly look at Grayson Allen's career and say, I like it, I'm for it, that tells you everything you need to know.
Straight to jail. Straight to jail.
That's the thing.
If you like Grayson Allen, you're tripping.
It's facts. And there's not a single Duke fan out there. This is the thing about Duke fans, because they do love Grayson Allen. There's not a single Duke fan out there who's like, it's like, you know what? I love my Dukies. We missed Grayson Allen. He was a real shit deal, wasn't he? Not a single time have I ever heard a Duke fan say that. Never once.
All right. My mind is made up.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 1 seed too. This is not a shock.
Yeah. Congratulations, Dallas. You get by on this one, but another matchup might have gone differently.
Yeah, definitely good to see Dallas going further if it weren't randomly put up against Duke. All right, next, this is a bit of an obscure one, but we have
this is for just Daniel and I's pure
pretty much
anger.
We have Toronto fans, Toronto if you're from there, who I think largely are the Maple Leafs fans, because apart from that 1 year Kawhi Leonard was on the Raptors, none of the other sports teams are relevant enough in the United States to matter. And then we have online soccer fans. So basically soccer fans on Twitter.
Oh, if you just took Twitter fan bases, I mean, they would clean up. I mean, NBA Twitter is a train wreck.
Yeah, it's nothing compared to soccer online.
I'm sure it's awful, because soccer fans in general, there's too many of them, and social media just makes the worst of you very visible. It's like a big megaphone, a spotlight on the worst things within your culture. So like, it's going to be awful for soccer. I'm sure it's terrible.
It's really unbearable. It doesn't matter what the soccer tweet is about. It could be about anything in the world of soccer, and it will inevitably devolve into Ronaldo fans and Messi fans arguing about which is better. It's not nice though. It's not I find the Michael LeBron debates much more like tame compared to the absolute. And they are also horrible. So the fact that they are more tame is insane. Yes. And they always devolve down to, it's like not even really an argument. It's just like calling Ronaldo Penaldo, because he scores a lot of penalties, and then somehow this like breaks my brain. Okay, maybe you guys can help me understand this. The counter for the Ronaldo fans is calling Messi Pessy.
Like a.
I don't know if is there a language barrier thing here?
I don't think so.
Wait, in all seriousness, I'm not close enough to soccer. Without taking a long time, is there a legitimate debate? I was under the impression that Messi should be like clearly better than Ronaldo. Okay, just checking.
Yeah,
but Ronaldo just has his fanboys, you know.
Well, and Ronaldo's played for more dominant teams, maybe. So
it's like
he's like
I don't know, Gretzky versus Crosby. Like, there's not really a discussion to be had there, right? Like,
yeah, there's really not.
I don't even think anybody makes that case, but if you did, it would be foolish.
Yeah. What's the case for Toronto fans? I think the case for Toronto fans is that they think for some reason they think that the Maple Leafs are still the best team in the NHL and the most relevant team in the NHL, even though they've not won a Stanley Cup since the 60s.
Yeah, they also have this like both the league is like rigged against us kind of thing, but also like that everybody's conspiring against them, but also that they are the center of the hockey universe and like everything should revolve around them. So certainly there's that. You know, that is a Canadian hockey fan thing in general, but I think Toronto is perhaps the most pervasive fan base of that is such a massive metropolitan area fan base. I will say, while most of the things I've heard about Raps fans have been pretty positive,
they seemed nice.
They did famously or infamously supposedly boo Kevin Durant getting hurt. Like, he got hurt and then they cheered that he was hurt.
Oh, I do remember that. Yeah, that was pretty bad.
So that's like their big black stain is that moment. I don't know what to make of it, but
it is pretty bad. And to be fair, maybe they would have more black stains if they'd had the opportunity to have more black stains. But again, apart from that 1 year, they've been pretty much completely irrelevant.
Yep. And Drake.
I
don't like Drake very much.
Drake's pretty annoying.
So this is a tough one for me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the people that he texts. It's just illicit relationships.
It's always something in texting
girls. There's some weird stuff. But I think I got to go online soccer fans here.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right,
Toronto gets away with one. Yep. I think that's probably fine. I think Canadians on average are just going to be generally nicer than us, right?
And they're probably mostly out of the online soccer sphere. So like you're not getting the Venn diagram crossover here.
That's true. Okay. Next we have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. What a perfect matchup.
Wow.
Here
Tale as old as time.
From our random matchups.
It's Philly, and it's for one simple reason.
I know exactly what you're going to say before you say it, but go ahead.
Go ahead.
You can tell me if I'm right.
Okay.
It's because they threw snowballs at Santa, right?
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Absolutely right. How dare you? How could you do such a thing?
Outside of like the mount, like there are a few things I can think of that fans are more famous for doing. You know, like in American sports culture, like Steve Bartman and Malice at the Palace, and then there's the time that Philadelphia fans threw snowballs at Santa. You know, like.
Also, like I do remember. I have a buddy who's an Eagles fan, and at one point I asked for what was the context? Like, why were they throwing snowballs at Santa Claus? So, okay, good. He's going to explain this to me. I'm going to feel better. From my memory, the context was that the Eagles were losing, and Santa was trying to get everybody into a good mood. They didn't like that. And I'm like, that actually doesn't help. That kind of makes it worse. I thought maybe like Santa was like really like drunk and disorderly or something like that. But no, he was just trying to lift everybody's spirits, and then they pelted him with snowballs.
They're just so angry.
They're very angry.
I you know, it's just a very angry group, and without the all the titles to back up the bravado, you know, that you get from New York and Boston, you just get a lot of anger and bitterness.
Even when they won the Super Bowl, they were still angry.
Does anybody have the pro Pittsburgh case here?
I feel like I've never had negative experience with the Pittsburgh fans.
Penguins fans
are like
I was going to ask.
Worst.
Yeah.
Back when I was with the Blue Jackets, I worked for the Blue Jackets for a little while. I mean, the Penguin fans would invade, and they were not nice. They were not a friendly group of people. They were rude and entitled, and it was not a great scene. Not a great scene.
Do you get a sense though in Pittsburgh that that's kind of all they have though?
No, I mean,
Does that make you slightly more empathetic?
What they're pocket? I mean, they have the
it is
Steelers.
Pittsburgh.
They got the Steelers, and they've been supporting Ben Roethlisberger for a long time.
This is true. Yeesh.
And that's not a good look. It's not a good look.
I think it's gotta be Philly.
It's definitely Philly. It's definitely
it's Philly. It's Philly. Philly's a legendarily bad sports fan base.
Yeah, this is true. Okay. Somehow I feel like I butchered this bracket, but it doesn't matter, right? Because it's random seeds anyway. So we're just gonna keep on trucking. Next we have Miami fans, and I think we can lump these two things together. I think like the Miami fans are going to be Miami Hurricanes fans.
Yeah.
Although a lot of them don't live in Miami, and then Miami Heat fans.
Sure.
I think if we
just the whole city, sure.
Yeah. And then Texas Longhorns fans. I am very biased here because I am a Florida State alum and a Florida State fan, and as a Florida State fan, Miami fans are my most hated fan base personally because they're obnoxious as hell. You want to talk about like living in the past? They haven't done a damn thing of relevance since like 2002, yet they still like are culturally relevant for whatever reason, mostly because of like how they culturally were in the 80s, so even longer ago.
But are you talking about Texas right now?
No, Miami. Oh, nice. Texas at least is a championship.
I guess so.
Well, 2005. That still was a long time ago. But also the thing that's super annoying to me about Miami fans is all the ones you interact with did not go to school there.
Yeah.
And they have this diehard allegiance to the school that they did not go to. And that just bugs the shit out of me. It really just bugs the shit out of me.
Well, Prentice, I'm well aware of Prentice's Daniel's dislike of this. Sorry, old habits die hard. Is because I am a Florida fan who did not attend the University of Florida, but I can share that dislike of Miami fans and the U symbol. Ugh, like come on. I mean,
how many universities are there?
Right.
Why is Miami the
to be the U?
They get off. If it wasn't for Ohio State trying to own we would all hate Miami for trying to own the U.
Yeah.
And clinging to glory days, but a glory day where their whole thing was like being jerks. Like that was what.
Yeah.
We're cool. We don't.
That
care
they broke all the rules.
We don't care about the rules.
Yep.
We're so good that we can break whatever rules we want. And then like trying to maintain that when you're not good is just embarrassing. So it's not a good look. But what about Texas?
It's got to be Texas for me. They're like one of the most, in terms of dollars spent to success had ratio. Oh, it's real bad over in Texas.
It's pretty rough.
It's real bad. They're like constantly, they're like trying to establish their own sort of like Notre Dame, like their own network, their own television network, their own kind of media atmosphere constantly. And they're just not good enough to sustain that. And their booster clubs are just, I know I'm like throwing from a glass house a little bit here, Roll Tide, but still, I mean, at least we've got something to show for it. And it's just, it's bad.
Can we talk about why the horns down symbol is considered to be the most morally unconscionable thing anyone can do in the world of sports? I don't understand it. You guys hear that there was a at the College World Series a couple months ago, a Texas A&M alum. Texas A&M and Texas were both at the College World Series, the men's College World Series. Actually, no, I think it was softball. Actually, now that I think about it, I think it was the softball because anyway, whichever one it was. There was an A&M alum who did the national anthem and then flashed the horns down sign, and he was banned from ever being able to sing the national anthem at all like NCAA events from henceforth.
Wait, and just so I'm clear here, and for the listeners at home, the horns down sign is like doing the Texas sign, which is the horns, but pointing them down isn't like you guys are actually bad though.
Yeah.
And he was banned?
Yes. And it's treated as like this morally reprehensible, indefensible act for some reason.
Is there some sort of further I feel like it's almost so ridiculous that I feel like there must be further some heinous crime committed
Maybe,
where
I don't know.
the horns down symbol was like used to support the, like, you know what I mean?
Right. Or like when we all figured out that these like weird hand symbols are actually for like white supremacy, and
some other group has co-opted this symbol to mean something actually bad, and so it's like, well, you can't do it now.
That's what the Proud Boys do.
I don't know.
Proud Boys do the horns down.
I hate to knock a fan base for optimism, but like every year it's just like, oh yeah, everybody's sleeping on us this year. Everybody's I can't believe you didn't know that our quarterback is going to be the Heisman winner this year, even though nobody's ever heard of them. How do you have 5-star recruit quarterbacks who nobody's ever heard of? It's just
Isn't there a suspicion that they changed the rules around bowl games just so Texas could get into more of them because they weren't hitting the win thresholds? Like, isn't that a real thing? And like, wouldn't you believe it if Texas had like arms into all of the judges and like the congressmen, and like they could just kind of operate as some sort of like Illuminati network that doesn't win any football games?
I don't know about this, but I'm buying into it. This is a tough one though. This is the one that I think has been the most toss up for me so far.
I think you're the deciding vote, Keith, because I'm voting Miami and Preston said he's voting Texas.
Correct.
We didn't even touch on Miami Heat fans, to be fair.
We didn't touch much on them.
If we are including them.
But if we talk about Miami Heat fans, I'm going to talk about how maybe we should have put just LeBron fans into this thing next to online soccer fans, because like LeBron fans are truly insufferable.
Yes.
I think I'm going to go Texas. I feel like Miami, while annoying, is just not important enough to care what they have. They're so easy to ignore. I get it if you're in Florida, you can't really do it. But if you're not in Florida, you could just be like, yeah, shut up.
Also, they're going to be underwater in like 15 years. So
good point, Preston. Good point. So yeah, go to hell, Miami. You won't even be around.
You're too unimportant to hate, you know?
All right. Next, we have a really juicy matchup, in my opinion. We have LA sports fans versus SEC football fans.
Jeez. Okay. Well, this is obviously a conflict of interest for me because I am a Alabama.
No, this is not. It also makes you a subject matter expert.
I am a subject matter expert. I don't think football fans are a stain on human existence.
I don't think I know someone who hates SEC football fans more than you do, Preston.
They're awful. They're so terrible. They're bad people.
Except for the Alabama ones. They're all good.
Well, Harvey Updike would like a word. I mean, I have specific schools that I hate worse than others in here, but nowhere do I think you find a like larger population with a higher concentration of truly like bad fans. Like, what SEC schools are known to have good fans? I don't know of any.
Vanderbilt?
Vandy, sure. I've always been, I'm like sometimes pleasantly surprised by fan experiences when I go to like away SEC games, but it's because I thought I was going to get hurt and then I don't get hurt. Like, it's not like everybody was like super, super nice to me. Yeah, my personal hatred extends mostly to Georgia and Tennessee and Florida, really, which is, I guess, like half the division at this point. But just because I've had really bad experiences there, it's got to be SEC football fans.
LA fans are annoying in the way that LA people
think Lakers fans,
right? I mean, Lakers fans are bad, but they're way worse now that they've joined forces with LeBron fans. It's like a Thanos kind of situation.
Two stars
like
colliding.
Two of the rings on the, it's not good. But they also, like, I don't know, they don't feel that important. In baseball, Dodgers fans are probably pretty annoying, but I don't think they would rank it at the top of the.
Haven't Dodgers fans killed people recently, or like paralyzed someone or something?
I mean, by law of large numbers.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, like at the stadium. I think they beat someone to paralysis within the last few years.
Okay, I'll look that up while you guys.
Yeah, look that up so I'm not just
I mean,
spouting hatred.
Yeah. SEC. So here's an anecdote for you that's just coincidentally related to this. I was recently looking up. I was trying to find a documentary my wife and I watched of that was about the Kent State shootings, and I failed to find the documentary's name, which is annoying. But what I did come across was a story about an LSU frat house that when they played Kent State, hung outside the frat house a sign that said, Kent State should be used to getting massacred. I mean, this is an amuse-bouche of what the SEC has to offer, because you can't handle the full plate of hatred within this fan base, both of itself and of everyone else. It's like, I hate everyone around me, but I can't tolerate anybody who would slander this group around. It's like being in a family of people that you despise, but nobody can talk trash about them. You know what I mean? Like,
I can say that I went to Alabama right after this really devastating tornado came in, and every away football game had signs like that about the tornado. And it was like truly maddening.
Remember the whole thing with the tree?
Yes,
that was the Harvey Updike.
That was the Harvey Updike reference, yeah. And to be fair, he did not go to Alabama. Those are the people that we call Gumps because they're
an Alabama fan.
Fictionalized Alabama fans, yes. And his children were named Crimson.
When you represent a region rather than your university, you just have to accept that those people are part of your fan base. If you're going to take their money and enjoy their support, you got to claim them when they do stuff in the name of your school.
I don't want to, but as part of this exercise, you're absolutely.
Oh,
right. I'm sure if I go to LSU,
Florida, but I'm embarrassed of my fan base. I like Florida, the team, not the fans. Sorry, but it's for me, it's SEC, and it's really not close.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree as well. I do feel like LA fans are getting off easy here going up against the SEC, but yeah, SEC for sure. All right, next we have Notre Dame fans and Boston pro sports fans. I mean, do we even need to discuss this?
No, I don't think so.
Let me throw out that Notre Dame fans are incredibly annoying.
They are.
They like what I said about Toronto hockey fans. I mean, they think that the football world revolves around them. They've always thought we're special, we're important, we're ordained by God to be good or whatever. Somehow they'll get a top 25 ranking no matter how bad they are, no matter how bad they were the year before. They'll get, plenty of TV time. They'll be overrated. They'll talk about
exclusive TV time.
How great the Golden Dome is, and we're gonna touch the sign on the way out. Remember Rudy? Forget it. They're super annoying.
They're also another program that collects more than its fair share of non-university attendees as fans, I think.
Oh, sure.
Oh, huge. In fact, I would say the majority of their fan base do not have any official affiliation with the school. And in some ways, like, it's similar to the Cowboys fans. Like, they're just Cowboys fans all over the country, because if you grew up at the time when the Cowboys were the cool team, you grew to like the Cowboys. I'm sure the same thing is happening for like the Warriors right now in the NBA. But that's how it is for Notre Dame, only they have a religious component to it. So there's all these people who are just Catholics who like Notre Dame or whatnot, or Irish, and they like Notre Dame. And
that's interesting, Keith, because I feel like that doesn't happen as much anymore. Because I feel like
I do think it's less common.
Because I think the way, like, you can follow now, you can follow teams, like, I think so much of that was born out of the fact that, like, very few games were broadcast the way they are now. So like I know, like, there are tons of Atlanta Braves fans because they were, like, always broadcast on TBS.
They had exclusive TBS rights,
and when there was like 10 channels to watch.
That's why they were America's team. Yeah.
So I do feel like the whole America's team thing is, like, kind of a relic of the past, but yeah,
it's still that power still exists for Notre Dame.
But and there's still, like, culturally fun teams to, like, wear the merch of and be a fan of, though. Like, it's like a fashion or social environment to, like, go to a Lakers game kind of thing in a very different way than it would be to go to a Pacers game.
I still find it really mystifying that their mascot is the Fighting Irish. Like, what do you
have to say about that, Daniel?
An entire nationality of people is your mascot. Yeah, it's just weird. I'm not saying it's bad. It's just weird. And, like, a lot of people who are clearly not Irish are then being like, "Oh, I'm part of the Fighting Irish." It's weird.
It is very strange. But so the main reasons I can't say it's Notre Dame here is because, one, every time they've gotten too big for their britches, Alabama has put them firmly back into their place. So I don't feel like they're ever too threatening to actually matter that much. And two is Rudy's actually, like, a good movie, and I like it. So it's hard for me to like.
And you know what? Nobody who's listening to this who follows sports heard Boston and was thinking that they were going to lose in the first round.
No.
Like everybody knows. We don't have to share any anecdotes. Everybody knows why they hate Boston, except for people from Boston, which is part of why we hate them.
It's baffling.
We'll come back.
But they have so little self-awareness.
We'll come back.
Okay,
It's
this next matchup is very similar actually to the Boston Notre Dame one. It is New York sports fans versus Ohio State fans.
Ooh,
this one hits close to home for me. So this is a hard one.
This is a hard one. I like Ohio State. You kind of alluded to the whole Ohio State thing, which I hate so much. Almost makes me want to vote for them over New York. This is another, like, Ohio State I think is either the biggest or second biggest university in the country. So there's just a fucking million of them. There's so goddamn many Ohio State fans. You can't get away.
I think UCF is bigger.
I
think but UCF is like a commuter school, so it doesn't really count.
Yeah, and I feel like they trade back and forth depending on the year. They're both absolutely massive.
Yeah, 70,000 people or something.
But they're just annoying. And Urban Meyer was their coach for a long time, and they were all totally fine with it because he won, which is another blight on SEC fans we can add to the pile.
Yeah, I hate Urban Meyer, and I almost hated him winning because it was like I have to somehow support this person who like absolutely seems like a completely despicable human being.
Just no moral compass whatsoever.
No.
But that said, I don't think I can take Ohio State over New York fans. I mean, New York fans, they're like, this is just kind of like being a person from New York in general. You think the entire world revolves around it.
They think they invented sports.
I think they think they invented everything.
This is true. Yeah.
Like nothing, like New Yorkers think that nothing would exist if it weren't for New York. There would be nothing if it weren't for New York City.
At some point, we have to think about how many New York sports teams are actually in New York. Right?
There's
like actually play in New York. Because don't like maybe half of them play in New Jersey?
Only the football teams don't play in New York.
Yeah, now that Brooklyn,
both Mets and Yankees are both inside. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And just for full clarity, we're not counting the Buffalo Bills in this conversation.
No.
So everybody knows.
Although they seem insane too.
Do the Islanders
seem insane in a very fun way
play in the city?
They play. I guess it depends on like where you draw the city limits, but they play on Long Island. But I think the part of Long Island that is not in New York City.
Here's where
no one cares about the Islanders.
I'll give the New York fans some credit. One, I mean they've really stuck through their teams through thick and thin.
That's true.
You know, unwavering.
They are
belief,
diehards.
Despite no matter how bad they are. I mean, if you
can
love the Knicks, despite what the Knicks do to you, and despite James Dolan being the owner, if you could continue to love them with the passion that they do, like I can give some credit for that.
That's fair.
You know, misguided as it may be, and also they are aware. Like they get. I think most New York fans get why people don't like them. Now they may try and pretend that's we win all the time, but they're like not really doing that.
They
lean
into it though,
so they can't really. They do lean into it, so you know maybe that's a bit of a demerit. But you know I've always hated the Yankees in particular because as a kid I didn't like using like the best team or whatever when I'd play a video game. Like I didn't want to be a fan of it. Just seems so easy street to just be like, oh, which team are you gonna like? The one that's the best. They have the most money. They have the most fans. It's like, you know, there's no come up in that. You know, you don't get to come up from anywhere. You just glom on. But you know, somehow the Yankees spend all this money and lose anyway. So you could still like root for them. If you think too much about like New York drive time radio sports hosts, like you'll get angry again. You'll remember why you hate New York fans.
Yeah.
But now that I've married into a Yankees family, I've had to pull back on my anti-Yankees sentiment. Which is
let it all out here. Let us be therapeutic for you. Keith.
If you want, Keith, you can vote for Ohio State to save face, and Daniel and I will gracefully send New York.
I also lived in Columbus as a Florida fan, which is tough because I feel like at that time these two teams in football in particular had run into each other a bunch in important times. So there was like a bit of a budding rivalry. And I will tell you, I mean, I've been around a lot of fan bases, and now that social media is as popular as it is, I interact with a lot of fan bases. I have never encountered a fan base that complains more than Ohio State fans. I mean, just
really,
literally anything is a slight against them. Any call that's ever been made, any call that isn't made in favor of them, any change to any sort of functionality around the sports, that it's just like unbelievable. They feel like they're entitled to everybody is biased against them. It is a different world up there in Columbus. So I feel like I could talk myself into voting for Ohio State fans. I think I'm close to a toss up here, but I think you guys are both on New York. So
I'm kind of split, but I'll go. I think I'll come down on New York. Although everything you just said about Ohio State fans is totally true. I have a lot of friends who are from that area, and they never saw themselves going to Ohio State because of that. They're like, the people there are just terrible. So I'll go to New York though. I think it's got too much history of being real crappy.
New York fans, as a Hawks fan, the way they've talked about Trae Young is, even as he's crushed them. Yeah, I got it. Bing bong, it's New York.
Bing bong.
Bing bong is actually kind of fun though.
Bing bong is good. I do like bing bong.
They did a good job with it.
All right, next, in the final matchup of the first round, we have Chicago fans versus, and this one is kind of a specific one.
That project of Daniel and I's.
American soccer fans, specifically ones who pick teams of whitewashing or sports washing teams, namely Chelsea, Manchester City, PSG.
Now Newcastle United. Weirdly.
Now Newcastle, although they're not at the point where they have any American fans. So
wow, there's an American conglomerate of PSG fans.
Yeah.
I mean,
because they signed all these incredible players.
They have Neymar, they have Messi now, they have Kylian Mbappe. I mean, they just all these big name players that people like. But yeah, just like you listen, if you're an American, you pick your team. Right. You pick your European team more or less. Now there are reasons for doing that. Like I'm a big Arsenal fan because a guy I was really good friends with was an Arsenal fan, and so like watching with him, I just kind of like got the bug. But like more or less, you pick the team you're going to support. So why are you picking Chelsea, owned by a fucking Russian oligarch, Manchester City, the most like blatant case of sports washing up until the Live Golf Tour came about? Like just don't do that. It's so easy to not do it. I don't get why people do it.
What if, and I'm with you, I think that's what makes this more unavoidable, is if you're an American soccer team, like you picked this, you chose. You signed up. You're not born here, and you're like a morally, like inarguably bad thing. But what if you imagine a situation where you're a Newcastle fan, like now or last year? Like, what if you picked Man City before the Saudis came in and like dumped $2 billion into it?
I just don't think anyone really did that.
Not in America, you don't think? No. It is kind of like that did happen like pre the kind of American explosion of soccer.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I'm saying like, that's why I want to be clear that it's American fans. Because if you're from Newcastle and you're, like the 5th generation Newcastle diehard ultra, then like that's very different, I think.
Keith, you were saying you were like conflicted watching Urban Meyer win games. I feel like that is this dialed up to like 100. You're like, every time my team wins, it supports like murderers and oil barons and oligarchs and stuff, not just Urban Meyer.
They never seem to be conflicted about it though.
I guess not. I mean, PSG is a particularly bad case too, because they also use that money. Well, I guess it's like most big clubs do, but like massively skirt financial regulations and pay people off. And it's like a whole extra conglomerate around them. But this is going up against Chicago, right?
Yeah.
I feel like with everything we just said, it would be weird to put Chicago through, but I also don't like Chicago fans very much.
What's bad about Chicago fans, really?
They've always struck me as like a lesser extent of New York fans, where they feel this sense of entitlement around returning to their winning ways and their like sports culture, where they feel a little bit center of the universe-ish.
But that to me is kind of the like, I mean, I hate every time the Blackhawks play Chelsea Dagger, like with every fiber of my being.
That is annoying. I'm not gonna lie.
Literally my least favorite song in sports, I think. Sorry to Sweet Caroline, which can be second.
I think mine is actually the White Stripes song.
Seven Nation Army.
Really, but it's such a bop. Like
I know, but it was
But when
ruined
you hear
because-
it over
because
and
it's
over
15
again.
times per sporting event.
Yeah, that's fair.
God.
That's the thing about Chicago is like, because of the prominence of New York and Boston and Philly, it's like, even if they take some of those things, they're just so little brother compared to those cities. Like, I can't get worked up about them. While this group of soccer fans, like, combining front running with supporting evil, like you're basically
you're like the First Order or something.
You're the people who support the Empire. You're like the pro Empire people in the universe. You're spoilers for people who watch The Boys. Do either of you watch The Boys?
Yeah, do you want me to take my headphones off for a second? I haven't watched season 3.
Okay, yeah, take your head. Preston's gonna take his headphones off. I'll signal you with my hand.
Skip this part when you're editing.
Yeah, so skip this part. If you're the people who are rooting for Homelander at the end, you are the people who are like supporting him. That's who you are. You're supporting evil. Preston, you're good. You can come back.
Okay.
So I think I gotta go with the soccer fans here. The front running oil baron supporting. I don't even know what we're calling
also
this group. But
if the soccer teams that are being run by these people ever went into the kind of losing streak that the Cubs did for 238 years or whatever it was, they would jump ship so quickly. I have a lot of respect for the Chicago fans for sticking around for that very large gap.
The lovable losers.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to call them scrupulous front runners.
Scrupulous front.
So I'm going to put them for the first round.
I feel like that's going to be my next trivia team name. Next time I go to like a bar and have to come up with the trivia team name.
Nice, I like that. So that does bring us to the end of round 1 of our worst fan base bracket. So we're going to take a quick breather and be right back for the rest of bracket 7. Okay, Preston, what are we drafting tonight?
And we are drafting the best ways to support the Drafted Podcast. You've got first overall pick. What are you taking?
I have the number 1 pick. Wow. I mean, what a draft of the number 1 pick for. This is a no-brainer, Preston. I'm taking the Drafted Patreon. There's no better way to support the show, as you well know.
Yeah, it was clearly the top of my board. It's such a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, you can support us for as little as $3 a month. You get secret access to levels of the Drafted Discord, where you get access just to me and Preston and the other subscribers and VIPs of the show. You also get to listen to episodes without this annoying commercial or any other commercial breaks in it, and you get the unedited cut of the pod as well. So, I mean, there really is no better way, both for us and for the listeners, to support the show.
Yeah, if you think we mess up on the cut you hear, just wait until you get the actual unedited version. It's a good first pick, Dan. For the second pick, I'm going to take rating us 5 stars on iTunes. Very helpful. For my third pick there, I'll say following us on all of our channels, Twitter, Instagram, everything we've got. And I think draft is over, so we'll do my team versus your team.
Yeah, I mean, we got to send it to Twitter, but hey, maybe your vote will count extra too if you support us on Patreon.
I clearly won.
Okay, we are back for round 2 of the Elite 8, if you will, of the worst fan base bracket. And
wait, before we move on to this, just a quick thing. Like,
sure.
If we were doing the best fan bases, like drafted Patreon supporters, got to be really, really close to the top. So
absolutely number 1.
I think that's really a great group of folks.
Yeah.
Not like these sycophants and dastardly evildoers that we're haranguing now.
It's true.
No,
drafted
this
Patreon
is much better.
Supporters, number 1 pick of the best fan base draft.
Is there an actual sports fan base that you guys would be like, yeah, those folks are cool? One that you're not a part of? Because I really like Atlanta United fans, but I'm also like obviously very biased. I think they're like a nice supportive group. It's very like progressive. I think they're cool.
I don't know. I think I'm kind of the point where it's like people are so bad that like any group of people are kind of bad.
If you get enough people together, like they will find
they
a
will
way
all
to be
end
bad.
up being bad.
Yeah.
surely if we tried hard, we could find somebody who's like out
Well,
there.
it's probably like some
being
like
positive.
fifth division soccer team in like Ireland or something.
What about like the University of Hawaii fan base? Like maybe they're just like in
the
a good
Rainbow
mood,
Warriors?
you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I think they're just the Warriors.
They are just the Warriors. They dropped the rainbow.
Oh,
What a
okay.
mistake.
Yeah, why?
I don't
What's
know.
up with that? Now Rainbows
Now they
coming
probably
back.
want to bring it back, but they're like,
I know.
it looks weird
Well,
if
we
we bring it
can't do
back.
now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I'm sure there. Like, if I really thought about it for a minute, there are probably some fan bases that seem, better than others. I would imagine, but
It's going to be anecdotal. It's going to be like, oh, I
Yeah.
knew this.
Yeah,
Which is
I had
kind
a
of
really
part of
good
the sports
experience
thing.
at I had a really good experience at an Arkansas football game. All those people were super
Or
nice
like
to me.
I know of this teams whose fan base like raised all this money for kids with terminal illnesses or something like that. Kind of thing will make you be like, oh, I really.
That's like Iowa does that, right? Isn't Iowa the football? Because like
aren't they right by the
they're
children's
right
hospital?
by the children's hospital.
And so like the kids like look out the window and
Mhm.
everybody acknowledges them from the football games.
And I will
That's
say,
actually is great.
cool.
I will say I did go to a University of Tennessee bowl game. They were in Jacksonville, like 2012 or something like that, and they played Iowa. And my mom and I didn't know what we were doing, so we like bought tickets on the wrong side. So we were surrounded by Iowa fans, and they were all so nice. So maybe
Iowa seems like a
maybe
team I
Iowa
could get
fans.
down with.
Maybe the
Seems
answer's
like a
Iowa
team I
fans.
could get down with. Yeah, if you're an Iowa fan out there,
Yeah, go
let us know.
Hawkeyes.
We'll join your join your
Now we're
camaraderie.
getting messages about like how Iowa is like just the actual worst. we just didn't know.
Actually, they steal water from the children's hospital, so the children's hospital is not able to.
Yeah, they're not watching the football
adequately
game.
take
They're
care of
looking
itself.
for where they can find drinkable water.
they're making the kids sick so that they can fill up the hospital to
Oh,
continue the
God.
charade.
Yeah, because we can't have good, nice things anymore. Which is a perfect setup for this this matchup between Duke fans and online soccer fans. Who's worse?
Oh, Duke fans. I feel like online soccer fans I can avoid if I wish.
Exactly, that's the thing. That was exactly
Duke
my point.
fans unavoidable.
You can't block
you can
Duke
avoid,
fans.
You can avoid the online soccer fans because they're online and they're only online. Duke
But all
fans are
anonymous
everywhere.
too.
Duke fans are everywhere, and that's the problem with them.
And Grayson Allen.
Just
Yeah.
the latest in a long line of Duke jerks.
Just
Though. I mean,
shit heels, yeah.
there were some that preceded him. Although big shout outs to my guy JJ Redick for rehabilitating from what
Yeah, people like JJ Redick.
and with good reason. Guy's doing a
Yeah.
great job, and
Yeah.
I hated him as much as anybody. Probably
Yeah.
not as much as anybody, but I hated him like every good sports fan should. But he's really come around.
Yeah, he has. He I still hate him though. He'll always be
That's
JJ
good.
Redick.
As is your right.
Yeah. But yeah, so are we all voting Duke over online
Yeah.
soccer fans?
Yes.
But don't think this means we like you, online soccer fans.
It does not. It
I
really
mean,
does
if you're
not.
in the list, it's because we don't like you,
Yeah, 100%.
and other people don't like you, like a lot of other people. So, like, don't think it's just this show. Like we got people behind us. you know?
Yeah. Okay, next we have Philly fans and Texas Longhorns fans.
Oof. This is tough. My gut still says Texas. So insufferable.
I feel like Texas kind of just like barely slid into the second round, while Philly fans are coasting. I got to take Philly here. I mean, they are the aggressiveness is just off the charts.
Yeah, they're violent. It's
And
one
proud
thing-
of it. That's the
Yeah.
other part. Is it's like because the teams aren't good, or like they can't like work their way out of the negative association. Like you said, and this would be a common theme among a lot of these fan bases. They lean into it. So like, oh, if everybody's gonna talk about us like we're jerks, we're just gonna be bigger jerks. Like that is the plan.
Okay, but what about Gritty though?
it's fair.
Just like as a concept, I think Gritty's neat.
I don't think you can love him with a fan base. He's a paid mascot. He's a
I don't know.
professional
That seems
actor.
like fair game to me as far as
But they've embraced him. He's become part of the Philly culture. I think he embodies the Philly culture quite well, this amorphous blob of sin.
I don't give them any points for Gritty.
Okay.
I vote Philly over Texas.
Okay.
100%.
I'm sticking to my guns on Texas here, but
Okay.
understand that I'm outnumbered.
All right, so Philly moves on. This is a matchup we could have, I think if seeds broke differently, you could easily have seen in the final. SEC football fans versus Boston fans.
Oh,
Wow.
You're right. This is a finals matchup right here.
Titanic.
Oh my God. This probably would have been my final too, had I just like gone in and ranked these.
Yeah.
I
think they definitely would be two of the top three.
Yeah. I mean, it's still SEC football fans for me. It's just this whole other brand. It's this whole other stink. You know what I mean? It's got its own flavor.
I mean, I hate Boston fans.
I do too.
Like, I feel weird going into a Dunkin' Donuts because of Boston fans. You know what I mean? Like, there's just like this like you are blessed to be surrounded by a Boston fan, and somehow they simultaneously can be like, we are victims, like, oh my gosh, we lost so much and everybody hates us and we had to wait.
Roger Goodell, yeah.
Well, also simultaneously be like, we are the best, everybody should love. Like, I don't know how you hold those things in each hand and like feel like you can balance them, but they try so desperately to do so. They're the New York fans and the Philly fans are so much worse than us, but like also we cheat a lot. Like, and as Daniel knows, I mean, one of my truly greatest sports villains is Brad Marchand, rat face fuck from Boston Woods. I don't know if I could say that on the show.
People don't know who he is because he's a hockey player, and you know the average American sportsman doesn't give a fuck about hockey. Brad Marchand is a piece of shit. And if people knew about hockey and cared about hockey, they would all hate him.
Just imagine the football player who's like, you find out is like poking people in the eye and like grabbing their groins at the bottom of the pile. You know,
he's Ndamukong Suh, but like more annoying.
Yes,
more pestery.
More annoying and like very present. You know, Ndamukong Suh can only be on the field so much, but like Brad Marchand is like around all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't take joy in people crying, but like that the image of Brad Marchand crying when his team lost is like actually joyful for me. And that's a sign that's because I hate Boston sports and Boston fans. But I mean,
they're also extremely racist. Let's not forget that.
Yes, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the Boston racism thing. Yeah, it's not good. I don't know. This one's actually really hard, though. I mean,
SEC
it is
football,
hard,
though, guys. It's just like
the thing about the SEC thing is
people.
that it's kind of like a function of the list. If it were like one of these fan bases, that's one thing. But like all of them together, I mean, I genuinely think that college football might bring out the worst in humanity. Like,
yes,
it was before social media, there was college football. Like, if you wanted to find out what darkness existed within man, just go to a college football game. You know, like that is how you discover it. And the SEC has perfected it.
The worst of it. Yep.
You will really the best find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy than on the sidelines of an SEC football game. So
I spent quite a few years in it, and I'm in full agreement. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. It just means more. You know. It just means
that's the thing, man.
It's just
and all you got to do is look at that tagline and understand that the SEC football fans would want this distinction. They want it.
And the thing that's bullshit about it is like there are like 3 schools that make the SEC as relevant as it is, but they all think they're in on it. Ole Miss,
the SEC is
the
best conference.
That's not fair because what happens is there's like 2 or 3 schools and then like one rotating slot that like other people bounce in and out of.
That everybody gets to every now and then.
So remember, like, everybody gets
State
to
was number 2 in the country or something. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I just hate.
I mean, listen, it's not our fault that the SEC is the most dominant force in sports for the past 50 years. So
okay, now we sound like. I sound like Red Sox fans.
I'm trying to lean this my way by being that hateful person.
All right, I think I still am going to vote Boston sports fans.
I'm voting SEC football. So
I really want to vote SEC football. I think that they have perpetrated far more actual evil in the world, but I just think about people talking about Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, and I'm gonna go with Boston fans.
Wow,
damn.
It's very, very, very close.
Yeah.
I mean, I think either of these might be my winner if they won.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Okay, next, the final matchup of the Elite 8. We have New York's sports fans versus the scrupulous frontrunners, American soccer fans.
Oof. It's hard. We just like very accurately, but way like oversold what the scrupulous front runner fans are all about. I don't think we oversold it. There's the word I'm looking for. We accurately sold it, which means it would be impossible to not see them through this round, right? Like, as bad as New York sports fans are, this feels
I think the thing that has me leaning New York here actually is that New York fans feel more present, more ever present. Like you just can't get away from them. And I feel like to really interact with the scrupulous front runners, as we're calling them, like you have to be on soccer Twitter or like going to soccer bars. Just because like
that's true.
Soccer fandom still isn't, I mean, it's certainly like growing very quickly in the US, but it's not as rampant as just like the mainstream American sports. You really can't go like anywhere, I feel like, without, you know, having to suffer New York sports fans one way or another.
Well, I'm also going to go with New York, and here's my case. One, longevity. I mean, this is a storied history of being dickholes. But the other thing, and it's kind of the opposite. A storied
dickhole history.
They're kind of the opposite of that.
That should be an ESPN 30 for 30.
Yeah, that is the title of the New York sports fan memoir. Is that just kind of by nature, scrupulous front runners are fleeting. You know, your team can't front run for that long. Those kinds of fans just don't have the staying power. So like, even if this is a phenomenon that had predated the type of money that's been inserted into major soccer, it's just that the group of people that fill that role is constantly in rotation. So like, I don't know, I can't get myself that worked up about their fleeting fandom when there's a program with the rich history of New York fans.
I also have a lot of empathy for the folks that were like Man City fans before the big takeover, because Man City was not a well-known or very good team. And then they get put into this very conflicted situation where like the relationship between like people in towns and English soccer clubs is like very strong. I would argue stronger than a lot of American sports. And then suddenly they have this despicable financial takeover, but they're becoming an entertaining team that they've always watched growing up. I don't know. I'm empathetic towards the conflict that would like make me feel.
Just think about it like this, and you'll hear this about soccer teams. They'll say this about Man City, or prior to that, Man U or whatever. Somebody would describe them as, oh, they're the Yankees of the Premier League. You know what I mean? Like that is how people would talk about them, and people still use that analogy for other sports. So that's just a sign to pick New York here.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, New York.
Okay, we have our final four, and I will say putting New York through makes for a very fun matchup in our semifinal round. But first, it's Duke versus Philly fans.
It's Duke.
It is Duke.
There's something about the fact that people that go to Duke are smarter than me, and they know it.
But they're not actually.
Well,
they're just richer than you, Preston.
I don't know that I would be defending me on this particular point. It's not a position I want to put you in as a friend. There's something about that though that just like irks me.
I think the thing for me is maybe I would feel differently if I were closer to Philly and I had to interact more with Philly fans. But I feel like Philly, in relation to the especially in relation to New York and Boston, are not as dispersed. It's like if you're not in the area, you're not interacting with them as much. Whereas Duke fans, in my experience, have been fucking everywhere. Like they're harder to get away from. And
I make so many immediate assumptions about a person if they come in with a Duke shirt. Yeah. Or and when they come in with a Philly shirt, I'm like, okay, like
that's a great test. That's a great litmus test. Like if somebody is like, oh, I'm a fan of this, like what's your immediate gut reaction, your like instinct? And it's definitely like, wow, you must be gross if you're
fight or flight. Yeah.
Like a Philly fan, I'm like balling up a fist in case I have to defend myself. But like a Duke fan is like you know that reaction, like, yeah, like a baby would have to something gross. It doesn't even know, but it just is like, oh, I have an internal, the little green person from the Pixar movie is making me react to this grossness. That's how I feel about Duke fans. I mean, it's one of those things. I also feel like, right, we consider universities typically to be like a bastion of progressive liberal thinking, even in deeply red regressive places, to get a little actually pretty overtly sociopolitical here. Like my impression of Duke is that not so much there. It's a lot of old money and a lot
it's
of
basically an Ivy League school,
right?
But it's not an Ivy League school. But they
people
think
call it a
as
Southern
such.
Ivy, yeah. Which I'm happy to see the Ivies knocked off their pedestal a little bit. I think there are plenty of schools that are probably just about as good as Ivy League schools, including probably Duke. But they I feel like there's that old Southern heritage, and like they're the kind of place that holds on to some of the less tolerant components of Southern living. So
and you can't be all that and be good. That's annoying. Because like obviously there's like Harvard, but like Harvard, no, whatever. Like you can't do all of that and then also beat everybody in basketball. That feels bad. That feels like, okay, you're steps above.
You should see how Carolina handled them last year. So
fair, totally fair.
And I will say another. I feel like Philly fans, as awful as they are, they're like being true to their home. You know, like I feel like there aren't a ton of people adopting Philly as their adopted sports town and culture, but so many people just take Duke, regardless of where they're from or their like connection to the university or lack of connection. They choose to like Duke, and that I just cannot abide.
We haven't talked about Coach K at all, and
I just was hoping we wouldn't have to.
Yeah, Coach K, he's good. He's a good coach, but he's so annoying.
Extremely annoying.
Very
his voice.
Annoying. Duke stinks. How's it Coach K? Where how's Krzyzewski have a K in it? You know?
Great point by Keith.
Yeah, big time.
Phenomenal closing point there.
Also, having been to some Philadelphia sporting events, I will say that if you ever get to have a chance to have like crab fries, it's great. I mean, there's some good things about going to Philly sports, and what's the signature dish of a Duke game? Nothing.
Money.
Eat a plate of money, probably taken from a poor person.
Yeah, almost certainly. Okay. Well, so Duke moves on to the final. And either
once again
either Boston or New York or Jesus Christ. What just happened with the words coming out of my mouth? Either Boston or New York will face them for the worst fan base. Who is it? Who's worse, Boston or New York?
I mean, it's I feel like it's Boston.
I think
right?
I think it's 100% Boston, but I almost want to vote for New York just because I know, like even within this context, Boston fans would somewhere just get a jolt of glee for being picked.
They want to win. they want to get to the finals and win,
especially over New York. You know.
Yeah.
But I really don't think it's all that close, honestly. I think it's 100% Boston.
If the Red Sox and the Yankees are playing in the World Series, who do most Americans cheer for to win?
I think you have to frame it as most neutral sports fans. I think there are more Yankees fans than Red Sox fans across the country.
I assume that most people are rooting for some sort of like double full team ejection.
Also, did you say
a meteor without the violence?
Oh yeah, they can't play.
They can't play in the World Series.
If they're in NLDS, would that
ALDS.
or
ALCS would be the
ALCS
would be the
sorry.
7, yeah.
Bad with my divisions of baseball. If they're in the ALCS, I would think most neutral fans are rooting for Boston.
No, I think Keith is right. I think everyone else is rooting for, the stadium.
Mutual destruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with Daniel that this is not competition to me. Boston does everything New York does, but better, but worse. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
they do all the bad stuff more effectively. But it's everything you hate about New York sports with none of the self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like they think
and being less deserving of it as well.
I imagine if you were to poll Boston and New York fans on how other fans perceive them, like you would get more Boston fans who are like, people like us. They like Tom Brady, right? People like Gronk. He's funny.
People love Bill Belichick.
Yeah, people. Belichick's a real grinding guy.
People love the Sox. They love Fenway Park.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
Who doesn't like Big Pop? People like Ben Affleck, right? Like Matt Damon. Haven't you ever seen Good Will Hunting? I
forgot about Matt Damon and all this.
My point being that they don't realize that they suck. New York fans at least know. So to me, it's Boston.
New York kind of embraces the idea of the enemy a little bit better.
But they
Spike Lee at the Knicks games.
They don't do the cowardly thing, which is to pretend that it's because we're good. Like, the only reason people don't like us is because we're good, because they know they're not good, so they can't fall back on that. While Boston fans be like, oh, people just hate us because we win so much.
Bing bong.
Saying that is like going to a job interview, and when they ask you your biggest weakness, you're like, oh, I care too much. I work
too hard.
Yeah, I'm too much of a perfectionist. That's my greatest weakness. Is I can't stand if it's not perfect. That is Boston sports fans when you talk about people hating them. They're like, oh, they hate us just because we're so good. No, that's not it. It's not.
All right, I'm convinced.
Okay.
Boston.
So we have a matchup of titans of shittiness. It's Duke and it's Boston. Who is worse?
I think it's.
I've got an anecdote that I've saved here.
Oh yes, please.
Ooh, okay.
So, I have, in the same way that I didn't like the Yankees growing up, I didn't like Duke. Right? They're the team that always won. Everybody picked them. Blah. I'm not like that. So I didn't like Duke from the get go. But there was one exception for Duke basketball for me. That was Grant Hill. I love Grant Hill's game. Seemed like a nice guy. Everybody had positive things to say about Grant Hill. Love Grant Hill. But I worked at a restaurant. Grant Hill came into my restaurant. He did not leave a tip.
No.
Grant Hill.
No.
Did not leave a tip for the start.
When he was in the NBA, that's post NBA.
Post NBA. He was doing most of the broadcasting stuff, which is why he was in Atlanta.
Oh.
No.
Now it's not like a sit down restaurant where it's like you must tip or whatever, but if you're Grant Hill, you should be tipping. And somebody did bring him his food. Like his food was brought to his table for him, and we clear off the tables for you. He wasn't served by a waiter, but there was service involved. Guy didn't leave a tip. And for that I can't forgive Grant Hill. That's my Duke anecdote. And that is not to say obviously you can't blame that on the fans, but
the fans would be like, no, actually he was in the right.
Exactly. I mean, this is the same. They defend Grayson Allen's tripping. They say Grayson Allen just tries really hard. Other people trip. All the things you hear about defense. What
Grant
about
Hill just good with money?
Yeah, Grant Hill's he's just being a responsible spender. Yeah, really, you should have worked harder for that tip. You know what I mean? Your service probably wasn't very good. No, Grant Hill has infinite money. He should be tipping. He should tip 400% on every meal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think if Bill Simmons had come into your restaurant?
Thank you.
Would Bill Simmons?
This is what I was waiting to bring up.
I knew we were going to get to the Bill Simmons part.
This is the Boston trump card, in my opinion. The existence of Bill Simmons.
Oh my God!
Can you because this came up on our much more appropriate podcast of drafting the worst people in the world. Can you tell me again why Bill Simmons is so bad? Because I'm not I don't partake.
Talk.
Yeah. I mean, it's not great.
He's just so whiny and entitled and thinks Boston is the center of the sports universe.
And not just Boston, but himself. He is a narcissist.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
But he'll cop to it a little bit. He recognizes that he is biased in favor of Boston, but he thinks that he's checking that. You know what I mean? when you listen to his
he thinks
content,
by saying it, it suddenly takes it away.
Right, absolves it.
Right.
But he continues the bias in way over the top of what his actual recognition of his own biases are. I mean, it is truly outstanding. And he thinks he's closer to being a hot take artist, you know, like your Skip Baylesses of the world. But like those guys are putting on a show, and I think Bill Simmons is being sincere.
Mm-hmm.
Like he thinks he is being an intelligent,
100% sincere
analyst, but he is actually closer to being the like obnoxious hot take artist.
You also have Boston sports fans thing for Barstool.
Oh my God. I mean, I associate Barstool with Boston, but it's so there's a legit association there. I just Dave Portnoy is the reason I do it, but like, I mean, that's an actual bad human. Like, I think the world is a worse place because Dave Portnoy is in it. And I can't say that, like, Bill Simmons is annoying, but he's actually done like positive things. In some way.
I hate him, but I wouldn't say he makes the world worse. Yes. David Portnoy actively makes the world
a worse place. And if he's officially associated with Boston sports fandom, then like that is it. If you just told me he likes Boston sports, that might be enough by itself. Like if when you said Boston sports fans, you just meant Dave Portnoy, that would be enough. If he was the only fan.
If he was the only one, it would be enough.
Can I read off some notable Duke graduates?
Please grace us.
Rand Paul.
Nice.
Really bad senator. Stephen Miller, who was the immigration liaison for the Trump administration. Pretty good. Richard Nixon, which is cool. Really cool. And in the same category, clearly, as those three, Adam Silver, NBA commissioner. I think that sums it up pretty well.
But have we ever seen any of those guys be like a diehard Dookie?
No, probably not.
Because I get the sense that some of those guys don't give a damn. I mean, Adam Silver obviously not included, but those other guys have never struck me as the guys who are living and dying by how their college sports team fares. You know what I mean?
It's true.
I mean, it's a bad list. Don't get me wrong. I still
think it's okay. You fully endorse the list, and all those people are very respectable.
My vote is still for Boston for worst.
Yeah, I think I was throwing a Hail Mary there. It's probably Boston.
It would have been an upset for anybody to beat Boston. SEC came really close though. I got to go Boston. Still.
Yeah, I would still pick SEC over this in this situation, but Boston I think takes the cake here.
All right, so Boston is our worst sports fan base. I don't think anyone can really argue. Except for Boston.
Except for Boston.
They'll argue.
All right. We have to get Keith out of here shortly. So I think we're doing a bridged wrap up here. What's the one fan base you would have liked to have seen that wasn't on the list? Is there one?
I already stated mine, which is LeBron fans. I got a little more engaged with NBA Twitter over the past year and discovered that it was just an abyss of goodness, like a black hole that the new telescope has just discovered of epic proportions, where all that was good is sucked down until you can't even see it, and all that remains is an abscess.
I kind of find the anti-LeBron people to be just as annoying.
Oh, how are both sides of the LeBron conversation almost equally aggravating?
So the LeBron thing is like the American equivalent of the Messi Ronaldo fans, but I think probably not as intense or as widespread.
There's also this like NBA Twitter fans are just bad. Like the Warriors fans on NBA Twitter are insane. You know how Aisha Curry is, and she'll say something like, well, the whole NBA is rigged against us as they win like their 5th title or whatever. some dude with a blue check who is a beat reporter for the Warriors was arguing on Twitter that there is a conspiracy in the NBA against the Warriors. And I'm like, is this the worst conspiracy I've ever heard? Because they keep winning.
It's a very ineffective conspiracy.
Maybe he was saying they're so good that they're winning in spite of, like they're winning with their arms tied behind their back.
The titles they would have won if there weren't a conspiracy against them.
Someone with a blue check was arguing that with me.
That's pretty outrageous.
But it's emblematic of NBA Twitter fandom, which is like that across fan bases. And there's these player fan bases like LeBron, the Russell Westbrook stands are not only bad, but notoriously misogynist and like will like harass women online. So like all bad. There are a bunch of different NBA subsections of Twitter that I would have put on this.
We
list.
all just got to get off Twitter.
I think LeBron was maybe would be the one that takes the cake.
I think I could do a whole show on just SEC fans and do like a whole bracket because I know them very intimately and hate them all very intimately, but that's a little in the weeds.
A little niche.
A little niche. The thing that I keep coming back to in this, weirdly, is would Star Wars fans beat all of these? Because Star Wars fans are like notoriously
they would be top 3. I think
they would
Star
not beat
Wars
Boston.
Fans,
I don't think.
I think Star Wars.
I think they would beat Boston.
Are like right around SEC fans.
I feel like Star Wars fans. I feel like Star Wars fans are part of the anti-woke stuff. Like I feel like they gave that to Boston fans.
But I feel like part of what the power of Star Wars
so.
fandom is its immense size. So it's like has that similarity with SEC components. But yeah, I mean, if you start getting into the fan bases of things outside of sports, just the list can get pretty long.
What about like North Korea fans? Where do they rank?
Well, like, is there a sports fan base like NASCAR fans or MMA fans or people who think Logan Paul is an athlete? Like, is one of those groups?
Yeah, Logan Paul fans, because they're all 14-year-old little shitheads. So probably
Paul brothers.
But then you can't even really blame them. Like they haven't even fully formed their brains yet. You know, like
yeah, but their brains are being formed by Logan Paul.
It's true. There's no hope for them. They're already gone. Yeah, they're already gone.
Another one that I would have added is England soccer fans.
Yeah,
because they kind of have this like weird sense of entitlement, despite the fact they haven't been really any good for like, half a century. That one, like the whole "it's coming home" thing, is really just annoyed the fuck out of me for the last 2 major men's international soccer tournaments.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that does it. Be sure to let us know who you think is the worst sports fan base on Twitter and on Discord.
And if you can think of some examples of a great sports fan base, like can we get a
cleanser?
It doesn't even in fact, if you can even think of good things that sports fan bases have done, as long as it wasn't Boston or Duke, then I will be open to hearing it. It's got to be a fan base thing. It can't be like 5 people. It should be something really like.
Or it can't be the team even. It can't be the team visiting like a hospital.
Where teams fan base donated to the charity of the team of like their rival team.
The Bills started.
It was the Bills. Yes.
It was like whoever. I think it was like the team that knocked them out of the playoffs or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, it was like I think like an opponent's charity or something. And they that is a great
tradition. And that is credit. There you go. There's a good fan base doing good things.
I like the Bills fan base. Daniel said earlier they seem a little crazy, but I feel like they seem crazy in a very fun way. Like they'd fully embrace you in it and teach you how to do it.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. There's the best fan base. Unless you guys can top it on Twitter and Discord, let us know. And of course, please do support us on Patreon. It really means a lot. And you get to become part of the best fan base in the world.
It's true.
I mean, you're not front running here. I mean, you're getting on to the best before everybody realizes it's the best.
Exactly. Well said, Keith. Put that on our marketing campaign.
Mm-hmm.
But Keith, thanks so much for joining us, man. We really appreciate it, especially this weird time of day. Why don't you promote yourself a little bit for the listeners at home, if you will.
I'm glad to be back on the show. It's been a while, but I always enjoy listening to the episodes. And I don't have anything to plug, so I'm just going to continue to plug my boys here. I've been having fun hanging out in Dapsauce's streams. He did an awesome charity stream where I really should have won that first match of Fall Guys, and I flubbed it at the end. I think I finished 3rd. It sticks with me though. It sticks with me. But I had a lot of fun. So definitely I appreciate you all having me on, and I'm really enjoying the content.
I appreciate that, man. We love you, Keith. I did mean sincerely that you're one of our, at least for me, I can't speak for Preston. Maybe Preston hates you secretly, but one of my favorite people, and always a joy to have you on the show, man.
Little too heavy on the edits when we used to work together. So Always left a bad taste in my mouth.
Well, now you're in control. Now you have the editorial.
This is true.
You can make me say whatever you want if you want to put the time.
You're gonna shoot me a text and be like, "I was in surprisingly little of that episode. I feel like I talked for a while." I'm like, no, it just wasn't usable. I don't know what to tell you.
Sorry, man.
You resequence my voice, so it's like, I
love Boston sports fans.
Yeah.
David, Portnoy
Tom Brady is the best.
Favorite human on earth.
Donate to
Humans and Grayson Allen are heroes.
All right, thanks so much, guys. For Preston and myself, we will talk to you all next week.